Yeah.
All right, well, let's get started. Even as people join, that's fine. I am super excited to
Wow.
Rotary Bell.
Oh,
So we're going to actually start the meeting in the official Rotary way. Are you ready? No, I'm kidding. I'll be very kind. There you go. Well, welcome everybody to Pathways Rotary. I have a great agenda with really cool things, exciting things that some of you don't even know about, but I'm really excited. First, I want to thank past district governor Steve Day, who is no longer with us. He is from the Perrysburg Rotary Club, but this was his belt when he was district governor during the centennial year. So we are borrowing it right now, which I think is really super cool, and I'm very appreciative for that. Welcome to Kevin. I think is our only guest that I can see right now. Everybody else is members of this club, so welcome everybody. And I want to start out by making a special announcement, and that is just after our last meeting, this little envelope arrived at my house, and I thought, what in the world am I getting from Rotary International? But it's something very special.
Oh,
It is a 5 sapphire Paul Harris Fellow pin, which means so Paul Harris Fellows, I'm not sure how much Kevin will go into, but a Paul Harris Fellow is a $1,000 donation to the Rotary Foundation. And then for every subsequent $1,000 donation, you get a stone up until a certain point, and then it gets different stones, and there are all kinds of different pins. But this is a multi-Paul Harris Fellow pin awarded to the immediate past president, Steve Miller.
hey.
So I don't know how I'm going to get it to you. Maybe I'll just do it and wear it in your honor. No, I'm kidding. Next time I come to Columbus, I will hook up, which
Very
actually
good.
is this week.
Wow.
So I don't know if you're around on Thursday, but I'll be over there.
Congratulations.
Yes,
you.
congratulations.
congratulations.
That comes from Penny and I, so she gets to wear this one.
All right. Well, that's fine. You guys can fight it out however you want. But on that note, we're going to go straight to our happy buck. So my happy buck today is that we have a member that is reaching a new level with the Rotary Foundation, which is super fantastic. So I donate a happy buck for that. All right. Anybody else? Happy bucks. Sue.
Happy buck because
Yes.
you have awesome bell.
I will throw in some for happy bucks because I'm no longer at the Cleveland Clinic main campus. So I'm not 100%, but I'm not at the Cleveland main campus. So I'll throw in some happy bucks for being halfway back.
Very nice. Anybody else have a happy buck? Steve.
Got one. My next younger brother, Jeff, who lives in Mansfield, where David and I used to live, had, believe it or not, his 3rd hip replacement today. And no, he does not have 3 hips. Tested that. But again, like David, he's also a motorcycle rider. And so that's what I accuse him of, just wearing him down, getting on and off the motorcycles. But he had one, it went bad, they replaced it, and now he's got the other side. So I'm happy that he made it through that and is already home after this one day in and out.
What was his name?
Jeff.
Yeah.
He used to work for Hales Harley Davidson.
Oh, okay. Right.
There you go.
I've got 2, Chris.
All right. Who said that? Ken?
One, happy anniversary, Laura.
Yes.
Thank
I'll do 3. One, 50 is just like 49 so far, aside from the shingle shot yesterday. But other than that, it's exactly the same.
Where do you get the colonoscopy?
Thank you, Chuck. Chuck, you're breaking up, man. I'm sorry about that. And the last one is, Chris, that bell is magnificent. And Steve Day is smiling from the great beyond over his Tanqueray.
I think so. I think so too. I love it. I love it so much. I don't know if everybody else loved it, but you missed its inaugural dong thing or whatever it was. I'll have to
I'll
pick
wait
it
for
up
the
on the
email.
video. Thank you. Anybody else have a happy buck? Chuck.
Well, I followed your lead, Chris, and then picked up litter. And I picked up 10 cans that had a deposit on it of a nickel. So I got 50 cents there. So I think I should only have to pay of the happy buck.
You
No,
round
I
up,
think you
Chuck.
should have
I'm
to
here to
pay
tell
more.
you.
But
Shouldn't you have to pay more since you made money on our service project?
I was afraid somebody might see through that. Darn it. It's worth a try.
It was worth a try.
Yeah.
That should be double fine from the club.
Oh,
The club from which you come, the Whitehall Mexican Club, would have totally charged you double for that, right?
yeah.
See. All right. Anybody else
Yeah.
have a happy buck? Anybody?
Lucky it's not Findlay.
Why?
Yeah,
What was that?
I'll give a happy buck.
Go ahead, Laura.
I should probably give $1 for my own 1-year anniversary. So I'll throw one in. It's exciting. So we spent the weekend at Amish country, just kind of relaxing and unwinding.
It was a pretty
Yeah.
weekend.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
That's fantastic. Jim, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll give a happy buck. Since our last meeting, Sue and I had the pleasure of Chuck and Judy stopped by. They were in Ohio and made they had a funeral about 10 miles away from us. On their way back to Connecticut, we got to meet them. It was great fun.
Back at you there, Jim. I'll put another $1 in.
Okay.
And same.
I think you should put
us.
another one for not coming to see me, darn it.
You need to live closer to the highway. That's
Come halfway. I would have come halfway.
But they made it to Columbus or at least the Worthington Hills, and Penny and I got to meet them as well, finally in person. So I'll throw in another one for that.
oh, there goes another $1 for me.
You're up to like 6 or 7 right
I'm signing off, I think.
$50 for Emily's
Real
little boy.
expensive.
Oh my gosh.
Look, Emily shrunk.
Emily's, oh God, he is precious.
Hey, Chuck, where do you live in Connecticut?
East Hampton. It's right outside of Middletown.
Yeah, I lived 20 years in Connecticut in the Hartford area. And among other things, I had the pleasure of being president of the Hartford Rotary Club.
Oh, great.
So it was,
We're about 25 miles south of Hartford.
I know where it is. Yeah. Middletown's halfway down to New Haven.
Yeah. Home of Wesleyan University
Yeah,
in
my-
Middletown.
After my daughter came back from Paris and school, she spent a year or so at Middletown College. And then she went on to some other colleges and got her PhD, and now she's out in Colorado, so moving around.
Wow.
Yeah.
Great.
Anybody else have a happy buck want to throw in? I guess I should add one more because some of you know, if you came to our social meeting, that I was in a kind of bad car accident, and I'm doing really pretty well. I only have a couple weird things going on. So generally speaking, I took all of your advice and went and had myself checked out. Not broken anywhere, which is really good. So anyway, I'm relieved that I'm doing pretty well. But thanks everyone for your notes and everything that you sent. That was all right. Now, because we have a really important program, I only am going to do 2 committee reports, and one is going to be a stand-in, looks like. But Eloisa, can you give us a quick update on the water project? after you unmute yourself. After you figure out how to unmute yourself. All right, while she's doing that, Steve, I'm going to need to ask you about the field trip to the Air Force Museum since I don't see Kathy.
Well, Stephanie or not Stephanie, Cassie and I have not got back in touch, but tentatively March 16th is when we're going to try and do it. So I'll get back in touch with her and we'll tie that down. And that's, of course, if the government still has money after Friday. So
So watch the website and watch the Facebook page, and we'll send a text out with a graphic or something. So if you guys in Taiwan are going to make it, you need to start making your plane ticket reservations right now. All right, Eloisa, go ahead.
Yes, I'm unmuted. Well, we had a wonderful, wonderful trip. It was exciting. It was adventurous. So many things that came together, and wonderful meeting old friends and making new ones and going up to the mountains. Everything was fine and safe, but this is just an introduction. I'm inviting all of you to be at our next club meeting on December 11, and we will be very, very happy to share with all of you, Bob Cook and myself, a PowerPoint presentation, some pictures of our adventure in the Sierra. It went really good. It was sad to face again the situation. It was very dry. Rain was late. They don't have a harvest this year, no crop. So that's something that we will be working. And our water project, we were there in a workshop where we were able to put our hands into the actual building construction of a water harvest. So be sure to be here next meeting, and we will go into more details. It was really, really a wonderful experience with our fellow Campestre Club Rotarians. Thank you. I'm looking forward to share that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, in addition to your program, we will have visitors from other Rotary clubs and our district likely. The Chihuahua Club will be represented, and probably some clubs that are in districts, or even districts that are in the US, like in Tennessee, that are interested in having some involvement in this really, really cool project that is being spearheaded by our club through Eloisa and Bob. So it's a really big deal, and we're really excited about it. It could get huge potentially in the future, which would be fabulous. So don't miss the presentation next month at our normal club meeting. So put it on your calendar now. All right, so just to wrap up from the service project, Chuck mentioned our litter pickup was last month. I started, and like Eloisa, she sent me pictures early on. She's like, once I got started, I couldn't stop. It makes you feel so good that you were hands-on, even though it's gross and dirty. Could be. It's true. I ended up picking up a couple bags full of garbage that was along our super country road, but it looked so much better afterwards. So I was really happy. If you haven't done your litter pickup yet, you still can do it anytime. But this month's service project, since all of our service projects henceforth have been very cheap, just hands-on service stuff, this month I'm going to challenge you to make a donation to the Rotary Foundation. So I want you to think about it like this is Thanksgiving month for those people who are in the US. William, you can just pretend you're American right now. But Thanksgiving that's the whole feeling of November. And when I first joined this club, we did something that I thought was pretty cool. We had like a fake banquet, and I wrote it down. I'm like, we're gonna have, this is what I want you to think of in November. We're going to have a Thanksgiving banquet that thankfully isn't. Is that eloquent or is that stupid? Whatever, doesn't matter. If you can give a donation that would sort of be what it would cost for you to go out to a really nice dinner you and say your family, instead of going out and spending your money for dinner, consider making that donation to the Rotary Foundation. And I'm not sure how much detail you will go into, Kevin, but I'm not going to give you the details on how to do that other than that you can do it through myrotary.org. If you don't touch on that, I'll touch on it later. So whatever you want to do with your presentation is totally fine.
Hey, Chris,
Yes.
can we do that in such a way that it goes to Eloise's grant? Are we ready to do that yet?
I don't know. Are we ready to do that yet?
Where it's, I mean, there's a global grant, right? So I think you can give directly to a global grant, but I'm not sure the mechanics of that anymore.
I'm
As
not
long
sure if-
as, Ken, as long as you have the global grant number, you can give a call to the Rotary Support Center and give them that number that you want to directly donate to, and they'll take that donation over the phone.
Excellent.
Do we
Thank you
have a
so
number
very much.
yet,
I'm
Eloise?
having trouble. Sorry, I'm having trouble with unmuting myself through the phone. Yes, thank you so very much for that donation. Thank you. You're very thoughtful.
Well, yeah.
And
Kevin,
thank you,
can I-
Kevin, for giving out that information.
Before you even get started, I got a question for you. On this same thing, can you do, you have IRA mandatory distributions you have to do. How can you do that and direct it towards this water project?
You'd probably have to let me know that you want to do your RMD. I don't think we would be able to. You could probably still put it on the form that you have the global grant number that you wanted to go towards. But yeah, of course, you could direct that towards. The only thing that comes into a little bit funny with a gift to a global grant, people really want to get points, and I don't think a gift to a global grant gets you points. But that's the only.
I could care less
hiccup.
about points.
I know you.
Don't need points.
You want some? I'll give you some. No,
no.
no.
But no, yeah, James, I think you could probably, but I would rather have you let me know that you have an
Okay.
RMD coming,
All right.
and
Well,
give me the heads up, and then I can let gift administration know that
Okay.
it's going to go to this global grant.
all right. We'll
Okay.
have a conversation on that.
Sure.
Good.
Yeah.
And now that we brought up points, there are probably people on this call that don't know what we're talking about. But I don't want to go there quite yet. I just want to remember what happened in our social meeting last month. It was fabulous. We had almost 20 people in our social meeting, and they're really a lot of fun. So I wanted you to put on your calendar. Since the timing has worked out, sorry, Steve, since the timing has worked out for the European continent and the African continent, we're going to go again with the final Monday in November, which is November 27th. That's after Thanksgiving, the last week of November at 1 p.m. So put on your calendar. And if you missed the social meeting last month, and it's really fun, it's casual. We get to know each other much better than we can in these very structured meetings. You can pick up the link for that. I put it on the Facebook page, and I don't know if I sent it out by text. I don't think I did. But if you want that link and you don't have Facebook, that's fine. I would be happy to send it to you if you didn't get to participate last month. They're really fun. They're really fun. I encourage you to join if you can. All right, I'm going to hand it over to past District Governor David. If you could introduce our speaker, even though we've talked to him the entire time. We would like you to introduce him officially.
Yeah, we kind of already walked around his program, so
We have.
yeah. Welcome, Kevin. Good to have you here. Jim was kind enough to put some information into the announcement for this particular meeting, and Kevin has worked at Rotary International for some 20 years, I believe, and has been doing a great job. Let things kind of go along. This is Foundation Month. Kevin was kind enough to commit to this. I think today he drove from wherever he was to he's staying in Pittsburgh somewhere right now for a program he's going to do for a couple of foundations there. So glad that we could sneak you in. This is pretty good, I think, when you can have a Zoom meeting no matter where you are. So I think that one of the things that Kevin and I talked about, other than just go through all the ups and downs and ins and outs of the foundation and doing a grant, but there's probably a lot of things at the foundation that aren't generally known. And if you could come up with some kind of side views of it so that we can have a deeper or maybe a different kind of perspective on the foundation, maybe he could do that. So with that kind of abrupt introduction, Kevin, please tell us about the foundation.
Sure.
What we don't know about it.
Thanks, David. This was I enjoyed trading some notes with David and I, because this was a little bit, I'm taking a different approach of a Rotary Foundation presentation, a little behind the scenes of maybe some things that you don't know about the Rotary Foundation. But if there's any basics, I'm just a Zoom call away, and I've known a number of the folks in your club for years, and so I'm happy to help in any ways. But David seasoned me quite a bit. I haven't been on staff for 20 years. I will be at some point, but I've been on staff about 8 years as a major gifts officer with the Rotary Foundation. I work out of my home office I'm in Metro Detroit area, and I support districts and Rotarians in all of Michigan, Indiana, Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, and a little bit of Ontario, because some of our districts sneak over into Canada. So my primary role is I'll meet with individuals about significant gifts to the Rotary Foundation, but in a lot of times I'll work with districts also on perhaps some fundraising initiatives they might be doing. So for this week, I'm in Pittsburgh because the district here in Pittsburgh is doing what they're calling it's $1 million dinner. And so they're within the next 18 months, they're trying to raise $1 million to coincide actually with our incoming president of Rotary International, Stephanie Urchik, because this is her district that's here in 7305. But again, wanted to perhaps give some behind the scenes or some things that perhaps are unknown about the Rotary Foundation, or maybe even a reminder for some of our veterans that we've had support the foundation for many of years. But first thing I want to talk, I think it's really powerful to learn of just the vast size of Rotary. Rotary is really, really, really dependent on volunteers. And if you think about it at the club level, we have Rotarians that are leading the club, whether that's president or serving as a board member, serving as a foundation chair, serving as the service chair, a number of capacities, doing the work of Rotary on the ground. Probably the most important part of Rotary is what you're doing within a club. But we rely on that at a club level. We rely on the district level when it comes to district governors. We rely on district foundation chairs, public image chairs. There's all kinds of roles that again are volunteer roles at a district level. And a district is a group of clubs that is usually ranges from about 45 clubs to 60 clubs is probably average for North America. So again, we rely on volunteers. Then it goes up to what we call a zone. And for Ohio, you're in what's called Zone 30. And Zone 30 has, gosh, I don't know, 15 districts. And so 15 districts represent one zone. And then you're paired with another zone that has what we call a zone director and so forth. And that's somebody that represents the board of Rotary. Again, all volunteers. And so you can see we're at a zone level to district level to club level. And then we have trustees and all these other volunteer roles within Rotary, and it's an extremely vast organization. And what's really doing our job throughout the world is Rotarians in all these different facets. So sometimes when you think about the size of Rotary and how it relates to the Rotary Foundation, it's massive. It's massive. We wouldn't be able to do what the work we do if it wasn't for Rotary. One particular area that I think most Rotarians give to is when you're giving to if you're a Paul Harris Society member, you give to the annual fund, you give to a fundraising project that your club has, and it goes to Rotary. What we call that is when you give to the annual fund, we call it share. If there's one thing that you remember from today, just think share. What that means is essentially the Rotary Foundation shares that with your district. So whatever funds come in through District 6600 every single year, half of that in 3 years comes back to the district to be able to use. It could be for global grants, for district grants, and so forth. I don't know how many nonprofits out there. When you give money, you get some back, but I think that's a pretty unique asset of the Rotary Foundation, and one that we can be really good stewards of the money that we receive. So share is a really, really unique way that people probably don't even know that they're giving to the Rotary Foundation when they give their annual gifts, but just know that it really is something that your club should continue to take advantage of and apply for grants and global grants and get that matching from the district and so on and so forth. It's also fun because I get to talk to Rotarians about same assets, same fundamental principles when it comes to share. But if we're talking about a significant gift to the Rotary Foundation, and we call it endowment fund share, if they want to give it to the endowment fund, there's a way that a gift could live on in perpetuity, same way that an annual fund works, but the earnings off of that philanthropic investment, say $100,000 that you give that goes to the endowment fund, all the earnings every single year come back to your district. It gets split between the World Fund and your district in perpetuity. Share is an extremely powerful a way that it makes my job about a large philanthropic investment that a Rotarian might consider. It makes it a lot easier when they can start seeing a graph and start seeing how that money could really impact your club and your district and so forth. And please stop me if you have any questions as I go through a few of these examples. Raise your hand or throw something in the chat. So share is a really unique, but it's also probably something that I think a lot of Rotarians might not know the fundamentals of it. Other aspect of it, of the Rotary Foundation that is so, in my opinion, powerful. When we're going to do a global grant, when you're doing a global grant, a water project and so forth, when you're doing a basic education and literacy global grant, when you give to Rotary for a project like that, not only are you investing in that project, but you're investing in projects that is going to be somewhere else in the world that Rotarians are going to make sure it gets completed. So you're investing in Rotary to make sure Rotarians can see your work done. So we're not just giving to a bucket. We're not just giving to an organization that's going to do the work. When you give to a project, there's a lot of work that goes into making sure that this project is sustainable. It's somewhere in the world that's going to be make a difference for that community that wants this project. And we need to make sure the Rotarian and that club in that some place in the world is going to make sure that project is completed. And there's a lot of back and forth between the club here and the club there to make sure that project is successful. So when you give to Rotary, you're giving to Rotarians somewhere else in the world that you might not even know of. And that's a really unique aspect of Rotary as well. And I think one thing that we're very proud of is just the fact that Charity Navigator is probably the most notable ranking system of nonprofits. And because of Rotary continues to be good stewards of the money that we receive, we've received the highest honor that Charity Navigator can bestow on a nonprofit as a 4-star charity, and we've received that 4-star ranking for the last 15 years in a row. So very proud of that when it comes to Rotary. Just 2 other things I'll mention. Well, maybe 3, but we'll go with 2 to begin with. When people talk about our number 1 capital project is still most important is eradication of polio. We're not going to deviate from the eradication of polio. We've had 10 cases this year. We're ever so close to the eradication of polio. However, with that being said, there's a lot of Rotarians that will quickly ask, well, what's going to be next after polio? And I don't have the answer for that. I wish I could give you a secret hot tip but we don't want to take away our focus of what is most important to Rotary, and that's the eradication of polio. However, one area that I think you'll probably see a whole lot more continued momentum is the development of the Rotary Peace Program that's been funded by Rotarians from its inception. Our Peace Program is we've got 7 universities around the world that Rotary has a Peace Fellowship program that takes place. We've had over 1,500 fellows that have gone through this program. We have schools in Uppsala in Sweden, University of Bradford in England, Christian Brothers in Tokyo, and I won't them, but I think as we continue to develop, not saying Rotary is going to move into the element of promoting, we're going to have peace in the world, and Rotary is going to be responsible for that. But we're going to be a major player in situations that we have that are in war-torn countries that Rotary will step in to at least help mitigate and help have that conversation that takes place. And it's not Rotarians that are going through these peace programs. These are people outside of Rotary that are trained professionals that are being accepted as fellows in our Rotary Peace Program. The Rotary Peace Program is something that's a lot of Rotarians, when they get an idea, when they feel it, they see it in action, become extremely passionate about Rotary. And so I would keep your ear to the grindstone to hear more about the Peace Corps program, because it's only going to increase Rotary's influence across the world. Then the last note I'll mention is the disaster response fund that Rotary has. Years and years ago, we would have, unfortunately, we'd have, some hurricanes that would take place, tornadoes that would take place somewhere in the world, floods that would take place in the world. Rotary didn't have a great way to respond to that. One of the catalysts that helped try to make help Rotarians that were impacted by natural disasters was our former president, Barry Rassin, who would develop a donor advised fund in a particular region that had been impacted by a natural disaster. But then it was the responsibility of that district or that group of Rotarians to make sure the funds would get used for the needs of those people. And Rotary didn't have a real control over how those funds were used. And that made, I think, the Rotary Foundation a little worried when we talk about our 5-star or 4-star rating with Charity Navigator. It's hard to promote a disaster response fund when we don't have control over it. So when we were going through COVID, we had a lot of districts, especially in the Far East, that were impacted by COVID in the beginning, that were asking for help, asking for assistance. And we just so happened to have a disaster response fund already established, but we didn't have, if there was a natural disaster that would come about, if there was money in this fund, districts could apply for these grants and it could get distributed for whatever needs that they may need. But when COVID happened, we didn't have any money in the disaster response fund. And so the trustees decided to move $2 million over into the disaster response fund. And it was used up immediately by districts needing PPE and everything else. If you remember, go back in time to 2020. Rotarians were giving to the disaster response fund, and just as fast as it went in, it went out just for districts applying for support for disaster response fund. We had over $35 million go through that disaster response fund just for grants to districts that were in need of support. So that worked. We're like, wow, this is a great way that we can address an issue that Rotarians are in need. And then the war in Ukraine happened, and we had a lot of Rotarians that were saying, "Oh, is this a disaster? Is a disaster that we can support? How can we do that?" And the trustees decided at that point, if yes, we would consider this to be a refugee. We had a lot of refugees that were coming to our particular countries or surrounding Ukraine or in Ukraine that needed assistance. And we will allow money that goes into the disaster response fund get used for the war in Ukraine. And in less than 2 months, we had Rotarians contribute $15 million to that fund. disaster response. And again, it all got spent for those impacted by the war. So my long story short, I'm a Rotarian as well. I feel extremely passionate about what Rotary does, and by just the fact that I work for Rotary Foundation and raise funds for it, I feel very comfortable in asking individuals if they would consider supporting it. But most importantly, just because I feel proud to be a Rotarian, I know that the Rotary Foundation is making an impact on us as a club, us in a community, and we're making an impact in the lives of people that we won't ever meet in our lifetime. But we just know that Rotarians out there are going to continue to do the work on our behalf, and I'm very proud to be a part of that organization, this organization, and I will be for many years to come. So my long 15 minutes or however long I talked. I hope that if you go away with anything from tonight, it's just you should be proud of being a Rotarian, and I hope that you'll stand with me and be a Rotarian for many years to come. So thanks, Chris, for the opportunity to speak tonight.
We do have several members that are very significant givers to the Rotary Foundation. We have a couple major donors. We have a couple our club chairs and many multiple times over Paul Harris Fellows. So it's really nice that we have a group of people that are already backing the foundation. But some of us, I mean, there are stages in life. I am not in the same stage that I was before, and hopefully someday I'll be back to where I was. But we should consider giving to the foundation. There aren't very many foundations in the world which are as trustworthy with their funds as the Rotary Foundation. So at this point, I know there's been lots of questions, but can there be any other questions from the group? I'm sure somebody has something. We have newer members that may not be as familiar with the foundation. So by all means, if you have a question about the foundation, please ask.
Chris, if I could offer one thing quick about, I have two young kids that feel like they drain my bank account immediately that once I get paid, as well as my wife. So a major gift it's something that I can do as well. But we've named the foundation in our estate. That's one way that you can do it, by joining the Bequest Society. But the easiest way for us is doing Rotary, as we call it. Giving via Rotary Direct is when you can go online to rotary.org and go to donate. You can give a recurring gift. So we give a monthly gift to the Rotary Foundation, and that makes it's a little easier for us to do at this time in our life. So Rotary Direct is a great way to kind of get your feet wet with giving to the foundation.
Scott, go ahead.
I mean, yeah, I'm also kind of new to this, but for our club, does each club, you keep a record of how much each club has donated to the Rotary Foundation? I mean, if we go to Rotary Direct, how do we let them know which club we're in, or do we do that, something like that?
Yeah, you can sign up for, you should have via My Rotary, you'll have an ID that's assigned to you, Scott. So, when you log in and you're going to donate online, they're going to ask for you to log into My Rotary. So that usually associates with that. And all you have ID numbers that are associated with your club. And so it's usually pretty seamless. And then the Rotary Support Center is such an easy way to do it too. You can give a gift by over the phone if you feel comfortable with that, but there's staff members that can handle that. But yeah, we keep records. We're pretty robust with our record keeping, and so we could share just your total giving. I know I'm sure somebody in your president in the club can pull that to see and share that with the club of just what you've given so far this year and so forth. So yeah, we keep a record of that.
Yeah, Scott, once you join Rotary, that number that is assigned to you stays with you, even if you move to other Rotary clubs. So your record of giving from the day one that you're ever in Rotary is recorded, and if you go into My Rotary, you'll be able to see the record there. It's all there.
Okay.
Stephanie? You're muted.
Sue, you're muted.
Hold on, Stephanie. She is trying to talk.
Chris, while she tries, can I ask for Kevin to provide his contact information over the chat?
Yeah,
He
I
just-
would like
literally
to
just
talk to
did
him.
that.
Yeah,
I
just
have some
popped it.
questions for
Sure,
you.
sure. I just popped it in there, Eloise. Yep,
Oh,
just
thank
popped
you.
it in. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The question I had was on the endowment fund. The new goal, what is it? Two something.
2.025 billion by 2025.
And where do we stand right now with that?
I just heard a presentation about it. It was actually our immediate past president, Jennifer Jones. I was at an event last week, and she's now one of our trustees, and said, it feels so weird to say this, that we're getting close, but we're only 330 some $million away from our goal. She's like, I can't believe I'd ever say that we're only 300 some $1 million, but that's where we're at. We're 330 million dollars away from the goal.
Yeah,
And a lot of that is sorry, Jim, to cut you off, but a majority of it is bequest society. It's state intentions. I think we have off the top of my head, 750, 800 million that's in the reserves right now, and the rest makes up is what's been told to us by our Rotarians.
Yeah, I don't, for members to understand, you have what Kevin talked about, the share program is just your annual giving, how much that you're making a contribution to the foundation. The endowment, and that's spent that year or 3 years. I'm sorry.
3 years, yep.
It's held for 3 years, invested, and then it's spent by the district. The endowment fund stays permanent. That's a permanent fund. And so that can come, like Kevin said, it could be if you're currently working, you could say in that little sheet you sign up on your IRA or your 501k, you would say, I want 10% to go to the foundation. Or you can even put it in your will. I want a percentage as goes. If you don't have that money, they don't get it. But if you do, then it goes in there, and you can pledge that, and then you become part of the society.
Yeah.
That would do that. You can, and so the endowment. The great thing about the endowment, and that's why we're pushing it so much, is it's never going to go away. They're only going to spend the interest out of there. So long after we're gone, there'll still be money coming into the foundation, and we'll relieve a lot of these things of constantly pressuring the annual giving. And it'll also allow us to do a lot more things than we could ever do before, because anybody that's applied for a grant, they constantly run out because the money isn't there. It's used.
Yeah.
It's used up. So yeah.
Great point, Jim. Great point.
And as I explain it, you can think of it, if you give to the church, what we give every year would be like your operation system for your church, that how it's going to operate. The endowment fund is like your building fund. You're investing in a future thing that you want to build this whatever that's going to last forever. So that's the two parts of it.
Mm-hmm.
Stephanie, did you have a question? Go ahead.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes, perfectly.
It's this new cell phone. It's evil. It's got a mind of its own. So here's my question. So I've been a Paul Harris member for a while. And my question is, when I donate to Paul Harris, how is it divided up? Where does it go?
Quite simply, the easiest answer would be that you're giving to the annual fund. And so you're giving to the annual programs of Rotary. And whatever you give, essentially you can think of it as Jim was describing for the annual fund, that half of it comes back to the district, the other half goes to the World Fund in 3 years. But yes, all of it goes, when you give to your Paul Harris Society, it goes to the annual fund, which funds our annual programs of Rotary. So it could be.
So does that include the disaster fund? So does the
No,
percent go to
it would
that?
it would not include the disaster response fund. That would be a very particular. Some of what is given to the World Fund has an opportunity, as I was saying about the trustees made the decision to move some money over to that. That was
Okay.
World Fund money that they decided to move over to that.
Okay.
So some of it essentially could be, but your gifts typically will always go to the annual fund.
Unless
So if unless I designate it directly to
Yeah.
the disaster relief fund.
Correct. And one note about the disaster response in a normal setting, it's whatever is in you can't choose what disaster you want this to go towards unless there's a special circumstance. Trustees say, I know there's some floods in Pakistan that you could give to the war, of course, and there's really bad issues that are going on. Typically, it's just if the money's in there and districts need it because of a natural disaster that took place, that's what you end up supporting. You don't know what that might be. So,
Yeah, well, that makes sense. It's
Yeah.
like a Red Cross fund.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm. Okay, cool. Thanks.
Yeah.
Anyone else have a question? No. All right. Well, thank you, Kevin, so much. It's a pleasure having you here. And in case you didn't see it in the chat, he did put his contact information. And also Eloisa put the grant number for the water project. In case you didn't see it, you can always ask, text me, or on the board to find out, and we will be happy to. But as a follow-up to this meeting, I will send a reminder of your service project for November, which is a donation to the foundation. And I will give you specific directions as to how to do that. And I will include on that Eloisa's water project number so that you can donate to that. Everybody good? Yes. Okay. All right. So let me recap some of the dates that are coming up for the rest of this year, which is kind of shocking. First off is our service project for November is going to be the foundation. So please consider doing that. Consider it a great night out that you don't even have to get dressed up. You can just write the check to Rotary or make the phone call, which is even easier. Our social meeting is going to be on Monday, November 27th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The next club meeting, of course, is the second Monday of December. That is December 11th at 8 p.m. Actually, Bob Cook is going to do the presentation. Of course, Eloisa is his backup quarterback. So we will have the two of them tag teaming, and we'll have lots of dignitaries from lots of places. So please show up so we don't have more guests than members. That would be embarrassing. But we have a really important board meeting coming up. Our next board meeting is Monday, December 4th, the first Monday of the month. And again, we meet at 8 p.m. But we will be voting on a slate of officers for next year. If you have a secret yearning to serve Pathways Rotary on the board, you have got to a text to me or to Jim or to Steve or to whomever you want that's on the board right now. Let us know that you have this desire to serve Pathways Rotary at one step higher. That would be really fantastic. We're looking for people who really want to be engaged on the board. So if you have an interest and a talent that you can help guide this club in the future, we want you. So send us a message saying that you're interested in participating. If we have no interest, we will find you. So it'd be better to volunteer early than to be pressured into serving on the board. So take note of that as you will. Also, if you're on the board and you are interested in serving as an officer, please let us know, because these are going to be things that it would be nice to know them ahead of time before we get to our meeting. All of that is going to happen in the
Chris,
next.
what are the open positions this year?
I'm sorry.
What
Yeah.
are the open positions this year?
Jim told me this. We have two. Can you remind me, Jim, who's going off the board?
Well, I'll be going off and Steve will be taking over as treasurer. And then you have one or two positions at large. Matt will be coming in as the new president. So the position that needs to be filled is the one that's going to follow Matt, or president nominee.
And then as membership, are you keeping membership, Jim?
I had planned on it unless you want it.
You can arm wrestle or whatever you want to with it, but yeah, I just wasn't sure what the positions were, so that's all.
Yeah.
No, that's an excellent question. So
I wouldn't be
clearly
the
we need-
treasurer either, not for nothing. Good luck, Steve.
He's been in
Yeah.
training he's doing terrific.
I expect nothing less.
Me too. Steve is going to be a great treasurer, but we definitely need an.
I figure it's going to take him
president.
3 years before he figures out where I put that money that he did.
Not while Kevin's on the phone.
Jeez, Joe. Too much. Too much.
All right. Well, we need an incoming president. So someone please express an interest, and if you're not, I will find you, because we have to have a plan as of December
So
4th.
we need a president nominee, not an incoming, because we've got
Well,
Matt.
Right.
I meant incoming after Matt. Of course, Matt is after. So
Yeah.
I'm not.
And then hand it over to him.
All right, so that is a wrap up of everything that I can think of. Anybody have any further business for discussion before we ring the bell?
Great to see everybody.
It was a great meeting. Thanks again, Kevin, for
Thank
coming
you,
out.
Kevin.
Safe travels back to Detroit when you're
Sure.
done in Pennsylvania.
Thank you, Kevin. Thank you.
With that, our meeting
Thank
is
you,
adjourned.
Kevin, again.
Thank you,
Thanks.
Kevin.